Okay, we're still talking about weld representation. In this slide, there's some symbols that we don't use very much, but I just want to bring them up here. The ones that we could use a lot would be this one here, the weld all around symbol, so where the leader comes off the part before it goes onto that straight arrow. If you put an all around symbol, the end of the weld at the starting point or all the way around. That's like when you're welding a cylinder to a plate. You want to go all the way around that cylinder. You want the weld to go all the way around. You put a circle around that knee. If you put a flag, a filled in flag at the knee, that means a weld at the final construction site. That means something when the final body is put together, that's when the weld is executed, not in the shop. So it's actually like the drawing that has this symbol on it. That weld is not done at that drawing level, is really what that says. In some cases, you want the weld to completely penetrate through. That's using this symbol here. The rest of them we're not going to use that much, but these contours would mean flush or convex or concave. That's just the surface of the weld. And that we can talk a little bit about that in a future slide. Okay, so the tail. The tail has this like a V-shaped over here. We could put a reference symbol in there. Otherwise, typically we don't use it. We're probably not going to be using it too much for what we're doing in this class, but I need you to know that it's there. So general, or you could put a general note in the tail, unless otherwise indicated, make all welds per specification, and then you would put that weld once on the drawing, and that would be it, and all the other ones would be the same. Would be either typical or something like that, or you don't put anything in it. If no reference is indicated in the symbol, then tail may be omitted. Tail is actually optional, but it's okay. In this case, we put like electron beam welding in here and resistance spot welding in that tail note. Next slide, dimensioning welds. Okay, so this means the 0.5 in front of the fillet sign means it is a 0.5 leg weld. Okay, to 0.5, there's only one number there. It's equal size legs, 0.5 and 0.5. In this case here, we have a T-joint, and we have half-inch welds on both sides, fillet welds on both sides, and this is the pitch of the welds, the number and pitch of the welds. And where am I getting that from? There's some examples on the next slide. We're going to talk about them in a minute. And then this would be the length of the welds too. That's afterwards. This one over here, see how there's two numbers here, 0.25 by 0.5 in front of the fillet? That means that this is not a 45-degree fillet weld. It's fatter on the upper half leg than it is on the lower half leg. That's how you dimension a non-45-degree fillet. Okay, so here is the spacing of these welds. Okay, so if we have this 1/4 inch fillet weld, that's what this means, 1/4 inch fillet weld on both sides. There is, each weld is 2 inches and the spacing is 5 inches apart. Okay, so that's like the pitch. 5 is the pitch, 2 is the weld length. And let's see. Yeah, L-P, length of weld, pitch, center to center of facing welds. Again, this is your decoder ring for welding symbols. You may have to refer to it often. I think I'll print one out and bring it to class for you guys. Okay, so now in this case, the welds are staggered here. okay, in which case I still have 1/4" welds. They're both fillets. Look at, see, I staggered the upper one from the bottom one, and it still is a 3" weld on a 10" pitch. And then on the other side we have a 3" weld again on a 10" pitch. Okay, 3" length of weld on a 10". That's how to dimension the pitch and the size of the welds. Okay, let's talk about groove welds. Groove welds are used to make a stronger joint. Okay, so what they'll do is they'll prep the surfaces of these materials. They'll prep the edges, okay? You'll come in with this butt joint kind of like this, and they'll come in there and they'll grind these edges off so you can lay a bigger bead across. And then here you'll have this root width, this 125 thousandths. And then here's how that symbol would go. This is a groove weld. It is a V weld, okay? The root spacing is 125 thousandths, and the groove angle is 60 degrees. And then this throat of the weld here, that's the depth, okay? So if this is what you want, here is how it's depicted. And again, all of this stuff is below the line, okay? Why is it below the line? Below the line is on the arrow side. That's why it's below the line. Below the line means arrow side. Just tuck that one away, and we're going to need that. This one over here. So the lower side's arrow side. It is an 875 throat weld. Okay, that's this 875 thousandth thick. It has a 45 degree bevel. This is a bevel weld. And then on the opposite, on the far non-arrow side, it's got a 1/4" weld depth with a 45 degree bevel. That's what this symbol means. Now this one we're talking about a U weld. It's above this reference line, so therefore it's on the other side of the part. It's not on the arrow side, it's the opposite side. You're looking at a 0 in there. The 0 means there is no root distance. Those two pieces are butt up against each other. The 0.75 in front of the symbol means it's a depth of 750 thousandths, and then 30 degrees up here is that 30 degree angle. And over here we have a arrow side. We have an arrow side root penetration. This is another thing for root penetration. Again, something not very used very much. Again, it has to be a very particular weld. What the designer is looking for here is a certain amount of penetration in the depth. So you're starting with a groove of 25 thousandths, but you're going to lay the weld in there such you're going to penetrate deeper. Okay, so this one over here is a butt joint, a square joint. That would be this symbol right here, square joint. It's not a groove weld, it's just a square joint. A square joint, 156 on both sides, and then that's all root penetration. So that's why they have that in parentheses. That is the penetration of the weld. Okay, we've seen that. We've seen this over here. We've seen this over here. This is 125 in parentheses here. That is the root penetration of the weld. Let's go back to our symbol, decoder ring. And let's see where we're finding that. Root opening of the weld, effective throat size, depth of penetration. There you go. Depth of penetration, size, or strength for certain weld, and then there's the effective throat. The effective throat is the penetration. Okay, so that concludes our groove welds. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about back or back welding. Okay, so a back or backing symbol opposite the groove weld symbol indicates bead type welds used as backing or backing welds on a single groove. Okay, so what that means is over here is I got arrow side, I got this V groove weld. Okay, I'm going to machine this out and I'm going to weld that in. And then this symbol over here on the top means I want to flip it over and then make a weld on the opposite side. That's why this thing has a similar arrow there. I'm not going to talk much more about those. A surface weld. I don't know where I've ever seen a surface weld other than on earth moving or gardening equipment and stuff like that. That's what he's talking about. Here's surfacing or hard facing. It's a plow blade. So you got this hardened steel plow blade, okay? It might have a whip down here to give it a little bit more strength on the edge where this edge meets the road. Or another way to add a little bit more strength is to, say, lay a piece over there and put an edge weld on there, or weld a piece of steel on it, or just lay multiple beads of weld material over top of this edge. That's a good way to build up the surface and make it harder. Here's how we do plug and slot welds. Okay, we don't show the hole on a plug weld, but on a slot weld we show the hole, the slot, in phantoms here. Okay, and then this means that this is on the far side. There is going to be a slot weld. Okay, so what this means here is on the near side, the arrow side, there is going to be a plug weld. Okay, I'm going to end this buoy here. Thank you.